Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Business and Travel Podcast. My name is Jackson Dean and I'll be your host. Today on the show, we got a bit of an interesting, different kind of episode. I'm here with Nicki Christensen, been on the show many times, and a very valued client of Social Growth Media, and he's got some exciting stuff that is happening over the next week. He's flying to South Africa to speak in front of 1,800 people, which is a very large crowd.
Yeah.
And plenty of reasons of why he's going over there, and we've probably discussed a lot of his story in other episodes, but the nuts and bolts of it are that Nicki is a big and prominent figure in the floristry industry. He owns a company that distributes flowers to most of the Australian florists. He runs the #1 online flower auction marketplace in Australia. His company does over $7 million a year in turnover, so it's a decent sized company, and he has been invited to speak on a stage in South Africa on the topic of business. And actually, well, I don't actually know exactly what the topic is. We're about to find out exactly what that topic is, because Nicki's going to do his first run through of this 15-minute speech that he has to deliver over in South Africa. Where is it? What?
It's in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Johannesburg. So this is he's getting ready to do a very, very big speech. And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a listen in. After it, I'm going to provide my angles and little tips and tricks and things that you might want to consider. But we're going to let Nicki do the full 15-minute run through. It's good practice speaking to you guys, the audience, as if it was 1,800 people in a massive auditorium. So I'm excited to hear what he's got prepared. He's spent a few weeks working on this and gone through more than 50 sheets of paper of specific ideas of what we're going to be talking about. But
that have been cut
out. So we're going to hand it over to Nicki Christensen, the CEO of Christensen's Flower Auctions, flowerhub.com.au and nickicchristensen.com. So 3 different brands, one being his personal brand that he's spending a bit of time on now and launching, and here's a big stage that he's been lucky enough to be listed on. So let's have a listen in to Nicki, see what he's got to say, and I'll hand it over to you, my man.
Thank you, Jackson. And hello, everybody out there listening to the Business and Travel Podcast by Jackson Dean. It's my pleasure to be here. And I won't lie to you, they tell you that you should never really let the crowd know whenever it's the first time you do something. But I'm happy to stand in front of you to say, this is the first time that I'm going to be doing this with you. And I'm mentioning that not because I want you to do anything other than just know that first times are special, and I will always remember this time. So I want to thank you for allowing me to share with you something that I think is going to be of great value to you. But the first thing to start with is asking you a question: why are you here? Why did you choose to come and listen to this podcast? What brought you? Why am I here? Why did I want to come and share something with you? I think it gets down to human nature. There's this curiosity that we want to be smart humans, that we're driven by wanting to know something, some key takeaways. And that's the thing. I come to this type of event, this podcast, spending time with Jackson, I want some takeaways that I can immediately implement in my business and that I can do when I leave here. And if I do my job correctly today for you, I'm going to leave you with 2 key takeaways that hopefully you can implement straight away in your business. So if you're happy to come on that journey with me, join me, and I want to take you on that journey now. And the place we're going to start is at the start, and it started when a tsunami stole my business. When I say the word tsunami, what do you imagine in your mind? Do you imagine like this tall wave that's like this huge thing with white crest over the top. It might even be roaring if you've watched a Hollywood blockbuster, and it's crashing down. It might even have the rock screaming up one side of it, an inflatable. A tsunami is this massive force of nature of water, right? Well, my tsunami is not exactly that. My tsunami was an inland tsunami. You see, what happened was Brisbane sits on the coast of the mouth of the Brisbane River. And then if you come up behind Brisbane, there's a tableland where Toowoomba sits, a big city. Now, it'd been raining for 4 months, and there'd been so much rainfall that when the rain kept falling, it would hit the ground and bounce straight off. And what caused that to happen was this wave of water formed and just came crashing straight through the city of Toowoomba. So imagine a wave that is really wide and a wave that is really deep, and this thing just keeps coming and coming. It's relentless. It just smashes everything in front of it. That's the tsunami I'm talking about. So it wasn't tall, it was wide and long. Now, if you can imagine a tsunami of water coming off the top of the tableland, coming down a range and then smashing into the main city, there's only one place for it to go. It's down and through. I run Australia's only flower auction, and I'm based at the produce markets. Now, the produce markets are the same as they are here in Johannesburg, down at City Deep in South Johannesburg. Now, I know you guys are familiar with flooding because you've had your own flooding here in March in Gauteng and also in 2016 in Linkfield, right? So imagine that type of flooding devastation that you guys have experienced, but times it by 4 months worth of rain, because that's how bad it was, the floods that I'm talking about. Monday the 10th of January started like any other day. I was at the markets. We were getting our flowers ready for the customers to come and buy. Now, customers would come in at 5:30 in the morning, and they would come in, they would make themselves a coffee, they would come and sit on our buyer's auditorium grandstand, and then they would then bid for flowers and do their shopping for the day. That means we'd have to start around about midnight to get all the orders ready. I hated that time of my life because nobody wants to get up at midnight, right? But that was the way that the markets were done. Now, I always used to think to myself, this is a really inefficient way to do a transaction with a customer. But what would I know? This is the way that business is done. It was very successful. I was doing 73 million Rand worth of business. So why would I change anything? Just let things be. I was thinking, wouldn't a better way of doing this business be something that was better planned, that was less stress for the customer, that actually gave us more time to meet the customer needs? No, that's as far as that chain of thought went. So this Monday in particular, I'm standing in my factory and I'm looking at the TV screens because we're all sort of starting to think 4 months worth of rain, we're probably going to have a flood. When on the screen comes the Premier at the time, Anna Bligh, and she looks straight down the camera and she says, "I'm not going to lie to you. I think we're in trouble." Now, when you hear that from your leader, you go, something bad is about to happen. So that clicked something inside my brain. I went, oh my God, we're going to get flooded. What does that mean? What do I do? How do I protect my people? This thing inside me, the leadership thing inside me, just kicked in. So I said to my nerds, guys, go and pull out all the servers, put them in the vans, take them to my house. Girls, you need to walk around the office and you need to clean the office up and get it ready for flood. In my mind, a flood was like water up to here. I still remember we walked around and put our office chairs up on the desks because that was cool. That's all we needed to do. You don't think straight when you're in the middle of a disaster or impending doom. You just do things that you think are right. So as we prepared for this event, I cancelled the sale, got all the customers out of the building, and then we went back to my house and we prepared for the doom that was coming. The next day is when the doom hit, and I remember sitting in our lounge room watching on TV as the Channel 7 chopper was filming across the markets because it was the main food hub of Brisbane, and there it was, our building in the middle of a sea of brown water. And it was at that very point that I knew everything that I knew to be real and true was gone. My whole business life, a bit of my identity, if I was really to be honest about it, washed away. We cried for that day. The whole team was in my house. The next day we were able to go in and have a look at the devastation around it. And if any of you have ever been in a flood, it's a weird experience. I had to drive up the wrong way up the freeway, back down. And as I was driving into Rocklea, there was this line 3 meters above on the service station. There was like this black marker where someone had drawn a line across the building. And that line continued on everything, trees, buildings. And as I kept driving down to the main gate of the Rocklea market entrance, here was this 20-foot shipping container sitting on an angle on a light post outside the post office as though it was supposed to be there. It was like a scene out of a war movie. So I got in, I had a look around in the building, everything was gone. Cool rooms collapsed, forklift flooded, office windows smashed. It was at that point where I confirmed I no longer have a business. Shit. Now what? Again, survival mode kicks in. I go home, I ring my broker. And I'm just checking to see if that flood insurance that I think I organised, did we organise that 5 years ago or did I imagine that? Nicki, I'll check for you. He rings me back. I'm really sorry. You have no insurance. Okay. So there's about $400,000 worth of stuff in my building that is now useless. How am I going to restart? How am I going to be able to get my business back and going again? You see, I went straight into survival mode again, and I went straight into going, right, I'm the leader. I have to be able to give a solution. So as I sat down in front of my team saying, guys, I'm really sorry, but we don't have insurance. We don't have money to rebuild, but let's look at what we do have. We have servers. Could we maybe sell to our customers if we just fired up the servers and we did business online? Now, something you don't know about my business, we were only doing 5% online before the flood. So do 5% of 73 million Rand, that's the only amount of business we were transacting online. But then we were going, you know what? We'll do 100% of our business online. Because guess what? I had no other choice. Okay, nerds, can we do that? Yes, we can fire that up. Great. How long have we got to do that? 3 days. 3 days. Great. Get that happening. This was now Thursday, so we wanted to make sure we could hit the start of the next week's market because we did not want to lose our customer. Okay, so we can sell to customers. Now what do? We have to actually have somewhere to put the orders. That's a problem. We can't go trade back at the markets. A broker who was also working for me, Elliot, he goes, hey, there's an old butcher shop in the shopping centre I'm at. You guys could use the cold rooms in there. Only one problem, Elliot. I got 1,500 square metres in the markets. This is only 150 square metres. It's all right. We'll work it out. Give it a go. Okay, let's do it. So the nerds were getting the site ready. We had found a spot to operate out of, but there was still a further problem. How do we actually do auto distribution? I had no trolleys. I had nowhere to put the flowers if people were going to show up and buy it. Well, guess what? What does a shopping centre have? Car parks. So I'm thinking, right, let's use the car park spaces as the places where we put the orders. So I thought, only one problem. We can't do that because the car park starts to get full at 7 o'clock in the morning. No problem. We will simply just flip the time that we run the auction to 7 o'clock at night. The shopping centre will be empty. We will be able to distribute into the car parks. Remember, my business was very traditional. Early morning, people come and buy, they go to their stores. I was assuming a lot of different things. But given that I was in an absolute position of desperation, I simply just made the decision and I went bang, 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 bang. And this leads me to the first key takeaway. By the way, we did have insurance, and I found this out after we had got a plan of attack ready. So thanks God, I was smart enough 5 years ago to get insurance. So my first key takeaway is not you should have insurance, but you should. My first key takeaway is this. If you ever want to redesign your business, or if you ever want to Uber-rise your business, so that is move your business from where it is now to where it has to be, and you're going, why have I not really been able to have that breakthrough? It's because you've been coming at it all wrong. It's only because of my desperation that I was actually able to free myself from what my own view was and what I thought that my industry would do or could handle, which allowed me to then go to the new way of doing business. Remember, I flipped everything. We didn't have a business premises. We pushed our customers online. We actually flipped the time. Remember, Monday morning used to be the biggest market. 7 o'clock at night, we had to run Sunday night at 7 o'clock now to get in store for Monday morning. I completely took my business model and I tipped it on its head. The reason I could do that is because I was so desperate. Now, normally, if you've ever had a business coach come in and go, okay, I want you to imagine your business however you want it to be. You can change anything that you want to now make it part of the future. What would you change? The reason why you couldn't get to that breakthrough, because I couldn't either, was you coming at it from a position of innovation, not desperation. And that's the number one key takeaway. So I want you to do me a favor. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine a time in your life where you have been absolutely desperate. It might have been after a messy breakup. It might have been after a death of a family member. It might have been after a natural disaster where you actually did lose everything. If you can tap into that emotion of pure desperation and then use that and now think to yourself, my business is gone. I have to restart. What would I do and how would I do it? That, my friends, is where pure innovation is going to hit you when you allow yourself to go to that place. Now, the second key takeaway adds on to the first. Don't get caught in the trap of being scared of making a decision that may be incorrect, because you have to work on assumptions. I worked on a lot of assumptions when I made the decision to change the way people buy, to change the times that they would buy, etc. Now, as a side note, 97% of our customers joined us online and stayed with us as a company. Now, you could argue and say, Nick, but the flood was the catalyst for all of this. Yes, it was. But without that, I would actually still have been selling flowers in the morning at the markets, and I never would have caught up, I don't believe, or given myself the permission to change the business the way that it had to. So make sure you come at it from a point of desperation and make sure that you're not stunted into inaction by just not taking the first step. Version 1 is better than version none. Version 3 is better than version 2, etc. So my question to you is, what are you going to do when your tsunami comes? What time was that?
I think it was like 16 minutes.
Okay, I've got 15 minutes. So
pretty close.
What I didn't say at the intro there, Jackson, was it's actually, I love getting naked and real with people, as in, raw and no hiding behind anything. That's the first time I've ever gone through that in front of another human. And I don't know if you could hear me swallow a couple of times, because I actually caught myself out thinking, and that's where I lost my place. But yeah.
That was good.
Did what I was saying make sense?
All right. So
now, Jackson's spoken on stages, so I'm very interested to hear this. This is real, people. We haven't spoken about this before.
Yeah,
you haven't heard that before, right?
No, I never heard of it. It was really good. It was a really good version 1.
Excellent.
Good things.
Yeah.
Your body language is fine. Your body language is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you're looking at me in the mirror there, trying to see my expressions, I could tell.
Yeah, assuming there's a crowd there, you're looking up the crowd, you're using your hands, waving them around. That's good. Your tonality was fine as well.
I did speak too fast though.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that. At the beginning, in the first 5 minutes, we have to come up with 3 questions to get the audience to raise their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Get them engaged in the first 5 minutes. So we have to ask them, we have to figure out these questions, but they're going to be good questions where the audience has to raise their hand for a yes or yes question. Who here in the audience has ever done X, or who here in the audience, just so I get a feel for who's in the room here, who here currently runs a business, so you're going to be able to relate to me. You want to get more than half of the audience to raise their hand. But for what you actually talk about, so now that I know what the end of the...
You know where I'm going.
Yeah, now I know where you're going. You do have 2 key takeaways, but they're not defined. We have to define them in a sentence. Okay. Like that, the takeaway has to be, 1 sentence each. And so we need to define exactly what those sentences are.
I thought I nailed that with... come at this from desperation, not innovation? Or is that just too kitschy?
Yeah, that...
Did you understand what I was asking you to do? No, there was confusion there. So confused minds don't buy. Okay.
Yeah. I think if you defined it like that, or if you had a good leader that clearly defined it, that was the sentence takeaway, then we can work on that. as I'm spitballing,
Was it boring? My biggest fear is to be boring.
50-50. So I'll tell you, we're going to...
Because no one cares about what I did, right?
Yeah, we're going to get rid of the boring stuff, and I know what's boring.
Okay.
The story's great. The boring stuff is the details about the business. You don't need to say anything about your business.
What, 5:30 in the morning packing orders? That's part of the change we did, though.
Yeah, like there's a few things that we can include, but there's way too many. You know, like...
Tell me the boring bits.
There's the car park, and that was where we were going to give the client the flowers. No one knows what that means because no one runs a floristry business.
I think the car park is key because that's what dictated that we had to flip to 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but we can leave that whole thing out, right? Like you're losing people in the details of the business.
Okay.
Whereas what you're actually doing in this particular scenario, you're telling a story.
Yeah.
And like one thing that you did well was say brown water. So colors are the most important thing when it comes to telling a story. Because you could have said this inland tsunami came down and the water washed through the city. Human brains are going to naturally think of blue water, right? So it's very like brown water is like, that's a very
disgusting
good thing to say. Yeah. So describing things in colors, but the presence is fine. The only thing that we need to work on here is the details of the business operation. You know, you can just be, it's really a case of less is more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get completely away. Because here's why. You don't want to describe your business because you want the listener to superimpose their business on your story.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to tell them about flowers, you know, or floristry or how your business model works because now it doesn't relate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want the person to just know that it's a business. Your business got washed away. What is something that everybody...
I was trying to share the innovations though.
No, but you don't...
But no one cares, right?
No one cares.
Okay.
People want their own innovation.
Yeah.
Right? So all you have to say is, I had a business one day, an inland tsunami came, and I didn't have a business the next day. Mm-hmm. And maybe yours wasn't a physical wave, but maybe you've had a business that was there one day and gone the next. You know, in times of desperation, you will create innovation or whatever it is. But it's a great story. So it's like, without going into the details of the business.
I was always afraid it was going to be boring, you know.
No, like it's definitely...
It's real life for me, but yeah.
It's definitely not boring. There's more...
How do I make it more interesting?
You got to ride this roller coaster way higher and make the audience really feel like the fucking roller coaster crashed. You know,
is
like
the crash
it
when
went
the wave
right
destroyed
down.
everything? Should I get more in detail about how it destroyed things, or?
Yeah, like you could really concentrate on... I'm not sure if you've ever watched your life disappear in front of your eyes. Now that we get rid of all the business stuff, right, and it's more human and relatable to a whole general audience, you can pause a lot more and really almost cry on stage. Like
I did the first time I did this speech. I cried again.
Well, hopefully you do on the real stage. If you can say, you know, relate something there where it's sort of like, I'm not sure if you've ever watched your life disappear in front of your eyes. My business was my life. I didn't know what the purpose of my life was about to be moving forward. I watched water take everything. And there was nothing I could do. I was powerless. I was crippled. It was like a lucid dream where I couldn't wake up because it was real.
Can you see what's happening? For those of you who can't see, I'm actually tearing up right now listening to Jack.
Everything I built, everything we had worked for years, the overtime, the 80-hour weeks of blood, sweat, and tears, everything was gone. It was finished. There was nothing I could do. I was powerless. And like that's where you go, you know, that's your 2 minutes of just putting the audience to the most depressing level possible. Everyone wants to cry. And then you bring them back up with the lessons. But as I stand here today as a business owner that could have given up, I had every reason to give up. I had lost everything. What was the motivation to continue? What was the motivation to start again? I was exactly where I was before I even started this business. I was back to the very, very beginning. And I had to rebuild as if it was day one. But as I stand here today, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that it has been so much more fulfilling. There has been so much more purpose behind what I've done, because I stand here today speaking in front of 1,800 beautiful faces to share my story that hopefully will inspire just one of you to not give up. When you feel like it's time to give up, try and put some perspective on your situation. Because when you win after you have been beaten to your core, the win is so much more enjoyable. It's so much more fulfilling, and it'll really show you who you are as a human, as a business owner, as a person.
Do you know why I'm smiling? Because the angle you've gone out on is actually one of the angles that I put on the floor.
Yeah.
Because I went this way too, where you were stronger than you actually know. And it turned into a resilience talk, not a how do you come up with an idea that's going to move your business forward talk.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you had an hour on stage, go in there and tell a story and then try and give some actionable, like, exit strategies, you know, things that people can lead with. Mm-hmm. But when you have 15 minutes, tell a story that, like, brings out all the human emotions that they want to feel. That's why they're sitting there in the audience. Mm-hmm. They want to feel, they want to ride the roller coaster. Yeah. They just want to hear the story. They want to ride the roller coaster. They want to go right to the very top, which we didn't even get to. This is the very top. So before this, maybe we can build a bit in where we go, you know, business was good. Week to week, we were doing well. You know, we had a strong team. We had a team of 25 full-time workers. We'd built this business for 8 to 9, 10 years. We'd really worked hard, you know, and I think we can all relate to that, right? We all work hard. And we were doing really well. After 4 years of grinding and hard work, we became profitable. And I'm proud to say that I built a business that was turning over 72 million rand. And I don't want to say that number for any other reason than to say that hard work can pay off. And it was a really fun ride all the way to the top. But I'm not here to talk about the top, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not here to talk about the glamorous side of business. I'm here to talk about life. And I'm here to talk about exactly what can happen when life doesn't exactly go according to plan. Today I'm here to talk about how an inland tsunami washed away my life and I had to start again.
I quite like the way that's going because it's like I can speak with conviction about that, like strength, and there's a lot more up and down.
Yeah.
Even I was bored when I was running through the business bits.
Yeah, because you're trying to. I know why you're doing it. Like I've tried to do it 100 times myself.
I'm trying to proof it with the strategy proof and the
you're trying
car park trigger, the time change, and no one cares, right? Yeah.
They assume you made it.
You're standing here.
You're on the stage. You made it.
Newsflash: I didn't die.
Yeah, exactly. So just get rid of all that detail of the business.
Okay.
Couple early points in the presentation to say, I had something great, and we were doing well. I don't know, how much were you making before that flood? This would be good.
Mean?
How much money was turning over before the flood?
73 million rand.
No, this is now.
No, that was then. 73 million rand.
Oh, okay. So how much is now?
We're actually doing less now, but that is 10 years on after GFC, blah, blah, blah. Because the GFC didn't hit until 2010, 2011 when the tsunami hit. So when we look at our figures, we went on a dip, then plateau, and then dip, and then the economy changed. So the key
it builds it back up to where it was. So that's the story.
Yeah, the key wasn't that this was the change that sparked me into a lot more money. It was just that it actually future-proofed the business. Yeah. And the key part I missed out, isn't this funny? What I thought the key part would be is this line, if I can share it with you. If you'd come to me in December of 2010 and said, Nicki, you should run your business at night. You should do it on a Sunday night. You should do it 100% online. You should completely change everything you're doing now. I would have laughed you out of my office because I feel like I understood my business. But then I was forced into, and to try and link back to your own global view.
So you can say that right before your early punchline, right? So this is how I would structure it. Mm-hmm. We got 3 questions at the beginning to get you in, establish, sort of your start, your audience engagement in the first couple minutes. Mm-hmm. 3 questions that get the audience to raise their hand. Then you want to establish local star power, which is sort of who you are and what you've done. Why you're on a stage, and then after that, you could literally say what you just said. You could be like, if you had have come to me and told me that I was going to run, I was running my business Monday to, you set context. I was running my business Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And, this is the context of how our business was running, quite boring. This is how it is. We had 25 staff. We were running, working really, really hard. We'd built a really successful business, and we were turning over about 72 million rand every single year, and we're flying high. We were doing great. Mm-hmm. And if you had have come to me in, say, the year of when it happened, if you had to come to me at the early part of 2010 and told me that I was going to completely flip my business on its head, that I was going to be running it at night instead of during the day, I was going to be running it online 100% instead of physically in a shop, and that I was going to have to make that pivot and that transition within a matter of months, I would have said that you were crazy.
3 days, actually.
3 days. I would have said that you were crazy. But this is the story of how an inland tsunami, so that's sort of like this, you want to open that loop and not close it, right? And then you deliver your point, the punchline. And open that loop and be like, if you're going to tell me that in 3 days you're going to do that, you don't even have to say I want to give you 2 key takeaways today. You don't even have to say that. You just be like, if you're going to tell me that these things were going to happen, that I was going to have to pivot and transition my business within a matter of 72 hours, I would have said that you were crazy. And I would have said that it wasn't possible. But this is the story of how an inland tsunami washed away my life and my business.
Do you think they know it's going to be a tsunami wiping out? Do you think that makes them bored for the detail of the story then?
Absolutely not. It's fucking crazy. What do you mean? Like,
okay.
An inland tsunami washed away your life and business? How the hell does that work?
Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
What the hell is an inland tsunami? Is it a metaphor? Is it actually a wave?
It's both.
Right? That's super interesting.
Okay.
And then it starts. Come on this journey with me as blah blah blah, and we go from there.
So the journey then about the tsunami, if I focus more on how we felt, the desperation, the despair, the loss, thinking we were insured, the not insured, I actually took that out to begin with because that was like more detail. I thought that doesn't really add to anything.
No, it doesn't add. Like you can just literally say, you don't even have to say that you were insured. Say you weren't insured. You know, just say,
because I thought we weren't.
What happened? Well, yeah, but what doesn't being insured doesn't help the story at all. Actually, being not insured for a matter of weeks is where the innovation comes from. Is where the 3-day turnaround comes from. Right? When you realize you've lost everything, you know, because first of all, it doesn't make for a good story when you go and tell the crowd, "Oh, I wasn't insured and I got it all back." You know, like that's not how it plays out anyways. Like just because you're insured doesn't mean you get any of it back. Like you're going to get money back way later, and I really needed that now. You know, like, and just because you're insured doesn't mean, oh wow, you just got like a free ride and free meal to the top, like you got your money back and all that. It's like that's a very long and drawn out, complicated process of getting your money back, and it's probably too late. Like if you haven't innovated and fixed your whole company, like you're not getting that money. Like people are getting their insurance checks, like still to this day they haven't got them 8 years later. You know, so you don't tell people, oh yeah, like one day way later in life, like I just so happened like got the insurance. Leave it out. You know, stick with the actual story, which was, you've got to figure out these perfect transitions, but it's like, have you ever been sitting there and watched your whole life and business wash away in front of your eyes? You feel powerless. It was like a lucid dream that I couldn't wake up for. Have you ever felt, you know, I don't know if there's like a feeling everyone relates to, but it's like
hopeless
despair. Like you just go right down to like the worst emotions that humans can feel and relate it as closely as possible to something they've probably experienced. And then from there, you know, you go, and then just when you think you've been kicked down harder than you've ever been kicked down in life, my broker calls me and says, "Nicki, are you seeing what's on TV right now?" He said, "Yes." "Nicki, 5 years ago when we did your insurance policy, I'm not sure if you had flood insurance." And when you've been kicked down to that level and then you hear the fact that you are not covered, I didn't have insurance, and that I had actually lost everything, well, that's the moment that I had a decision to make. I could have either given up, I could have started mentally preparing myself to fire and let go all of my staff, to give up, and whatever happens from there. I said some other cool shit before that would have been pretty good to insert there. Because that's where you want people to feel it. It is true. You did not have insurance, and then that's where you have to figure out, well, do I give up or do I regroup and do I rebuild? And I chose to regroup and rebuild, and it was the hardest decision of my life. I've never made a harder, more tougher decision, and I had no idea what it was going to look like. But as I stand here today, ladies and gentlemen, blah, 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 blah. People want that, you get kicked, like the roller coaster's going down, like the floods come, it's washed away your life. And pretty much the last thing that anyone's thinking about is insurance. And when you go and tell them, and I didn't have insurance, they're like, oh my God, you literally got kicked to the deepest depths of hell.
We were not covered.
I know you weren't.
I remember that feeling was my worst feeling I've ever had.
Yes, bring that out on stage. Like sit on that for a few minutes, like that phone call. It's like, that's that phone call where I experienced the deepest depths of hell. When I realized that I wasn't insured, that's figure it out. Figure out what you want to say in that moment. You want them to feel that. And then...
So you're saying the takeaway is really resilience and courage.
Yeah. Well, it is. You got decimated. You had a $7 million business that got decimated in a day. You figured out how to pivot and transition the entire business model online within 72 hours, and you kept 97% of your customers. And you had a very big decision to make. Like most people, or a lot of people, would give up and say, it doesn't matter how big the business is, it just got washed away. It's gone. Like, I've got to start as if it was day one. And I made a decision, the same decision I hope all of you make when the time comes. And hopefully this time never comes, but if it does, just know that you need to make the decision to move and keep going forward. Because when you get to the light that's at the end of that very, very dark tunnel, it'll be the greatest feeling you'll ever experience, knowing that you could have given up, but that you made it notwithstanding. I don't have a specific lesson to share with you today, ladies and gentlemen, but I hope that my story can help just one of you get through whatever you are going through in life right now. And just know that I've been there, and there is a brighter day, and that there is hope. And I wish you the best of luck on your journey. Thank you.
It's got to present value to them, right?
All the educating I've ever done over the years, I realize that people don't remember education, they remember stories.
Yeah, that's right.
They don't remember actionable exit steps and actionable execution plans. They remember the emotion.
So you're saying I can still give them takeaways without wrapping it up in a bullet point. You're saying that through that story, and I'll touch on the resilience and it gets wrapped up, but it's like that is the takeaway.
You are doing a disservice to the crowd by giving them your 2 points to take away. Where the value is by not providing the specific points, but letting them make their own takeaway. Because every person in that crowd will have their own takeaway. Because that story will relate in 1,800 different ways to those people. And you don't know what it is, and you don't need to know what it is. You are letting them take away what they're going to take away. Don't tell them what to take away. Because they go, that's not what I got out of that. Whatever you just said then at the end. I actually felt this. But now what I felt seems to be like...
out of step with the whole thing.
Yeah, did I not get it? Am I not smart? That's not what I got. I was supposed to get that out of it. I wasn't even thinking of that. So...
Would you start with a joke? I was going to start with doing a South African accent. People always try and do the Aussie accent when they do a talk.
No.
And normally you sit there going, you dick.
No, don't tell a joke, because...
This is not a funny subject matter.
It's not a funny subject, and you're also, no offense, not funny.
Come on, I'm really funny. I'm trying to talk like a South African, I think I'm funny.
There's people that are funny when it comes to speaking on stage, and there's people that aren't. And I am one of those people that are definitely not funny.
I'm a dad. I do dad jokes.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, if you tell the joke and it doesn't execute, your whole thing's fucked. It's just a risk.
Instant credibility killer.
It's not even credibility. Instant confidence killer.
Yeah,
like
true.
your emotion, your confidence, your stage presence fucked for the whole rest of the speech because
Like,
you're sitting
let me
there.
off.
You're sitting there thinking, why did I tell that joke? Why?
Okay,
Why
so
did I
now we've
do
established that I'm not a comedian.
Yeah, I've done it so many times. I've always gone into speeches thinking I need to tell a joke, and I've had one geared up there, and I don't think it's ever worked. And I just decided that's it. I'm never telling another joke. Like, I'm just not good at delivery of jokes. Like, I'm really good at like one-on-one with people, but to a crowd, no way. Like,
Can I ask you a question? I have the opportunity of being interviewed instead of giving a talk, and I understand why I'm going to South Africa. I'm going to South Africa to experience being on the stage, testing my mettle as a speaker, but it's also a content exercise for me.
mm-hmm. No, I think this story is way too good.
That's what I think. Like, I think I can control my own destiny through the tale of the story.
No, if you can get this story locked down, like the way that can be told, no, definitely that.
I want to ask the question to the people listening. So what we've just said is I'm going to rewrite what I'm saying. There's 3 days to go until I'm on the plane. Was Thursday?
Yeah.
No, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm on a plane in 2 days' time on Thursday.
Yeah.
Tuesday today. And I'm actually excited. Whereas, you know, when they say people would rather die than give a speech, I can imagine the people saying, what? You got to change your whole talk with like 4 days to go, so you got to give it? Yeah, that's right.
You're not changing the whole story.
It's the flow, the sequencing, yeah.
You're just literally deleting all the business details and just providing a couple, like the smallest amount of business details, because all you're trying to do with the business details is at the beginning of the speech, you're not even trying to validate yourself and be like, I'm actually a successful business owner. You're just giving context that like you could lose $7 million in a day. Like, that's what it's supposed to feel like.
I know what it's like to lose 73 million rand in one day.
No. I know what it's like to lose 73 million rand in front of my eyes. Like,
to watch it be washed away. I know what it's like to watch 73 million rand wash away in a sea of brown, smelly, murky water. That's too confusing. What the fuck are you talking about?
Brown water. Just brown water.
Brown water.
Just keep it simple.
It stank too. Like, we had to go into the portaloos to get fresh air. That's how bad that joint stank.
Right.
Oh, fuck.
And you can, smell is if you can try and get that in there somewhere, like this is...
Have any of you ever changed a baby's nappy when they first go onto solids?
That's kind of funny. It's sort of like...
Yeah, but build them up, break them down.
Yeah, a little bit funny. Yeah, I guess. I don't know, what feels comfortable, but yeah, if you can describe the smell, you could not breathe without a mask. This was the most disgusting, foul, putrid smell that you have ever experienced. Everywhere around you. If you're talking about the cleanup. Anyways, without going super, long on this, for everybody that's listening, to give you the same outcome as the future South African audience, I'm not going to leave this with a specific point of what you should get out of it. This is just a genuine business development session between myself and Nicki Christensen and
you guys.
You guys. Because, this is business development. If you guys ever want to speak on a stage, do any sort of public speaking, or if you've ever been through this particular story, you can bounce back. You will bounce back. But anyways, now I'm sort of starting to give you a point. I don't want to give a point. I want to leave this how it is, and I want you guys to get out of this particular episode what you get out of it. I've never actually heard of an episode in a podcast that would be like this. So
I would like to live in one thing though.
What?
I know that annoys you. You are infinitely stronger and tougher than you may even give yourself credit for right now if you have not been through something that tests you to that extreme. I just want you to know that, because there will come a time in your life when you will need to draw on that if you have not been there already. Mic drop. What will you do when your tsunami comes?